Hi guys, welcome to Mode Bespoke. I'm Atenas, and for today's project we will be crocheting a mug cozy, and this is for all of our teachers out there for Teacher Appreciation Day. So this is to say thanks to all of our educators out there. It's a quick and easy project that all beginners can make. Let's get started. The materials we'll be using is a medium cotton yarn, an H hook, which is 5 millimeters, a button, a mug, a tapestry yarn needle, scissors, and a measuring tape. So we're going to grab our mug and a measuring tape. If you don't have a measuring tape, that's okay. You can measure it with the yarn as you work on the project. But I'm just going to wrap the measuring tape around the mug. And as you can see, it's about 12 inches all the way around. My mug has the little hand holder, so it's not one of the travel cups. So I'm just going to crochet about 2 inches, an inch and a half or two less than what I need. So I'm going to make maybe about 10.5 inches because this pattern does grow. So my end project will be about 14 inches. So I'm just going to make about 10.5 inches for my chain, and that will be the size that I want for my cozy. So to start, we need to make a slip knot. So wrap the yarn around 2 fingers and pinch where the 2 yarns meet. So now we just insert our hook into the loop around our fingers, grab some yarn and pull it through that loop. Hold the yarn down with your index finger and remove your fingers from the loop. Now to tighten the knot, you just pull on both threads, and if you want to tighten it a little more, pull on each individual thread. To start crocheting, if you're not familiar with it, just loop the yarn over 3 of your fingers and then around your index finger. And now we just pinch the knot at the bottom with the middle finger and your thumb. You can also do this left-handed if you're a left-handed crocheter. So to start making a chain, you're going to wrap the yarn around your hook, so I'll show you again, around your hook, and you pull the hook through the loop. So we'll do it again. So I just move my fingers up as I work. So wrap around your hook and pull it through the loop, the one that was already on your hook, and just move up. Wrap the yarn around your hook, pull it through the loop, and then move your fingers up. So if you tighten the stitch, so here, let me show you real quick. So if you just wrap it around your hook and you just pull it through the loop, don't pull it any more than this because it will tighten your stitch and it'll be a little bit more difficult to work into. Practice your chain a little bit. If you're a beginner, it does get easier, I promise. If you know how to do this, just make a chain as long as you need. So for me, it was about 10.5 inches, which is what I wanted to crochet. So just make the chain as long as you want your project to be. Remember that your chain will be smaller than what your project will be at the end. So my chain is 10.5 inches. My finished product is about 14 inches. So now that my chain is done, I'm going to grab my mug and I will measure it just to be sure. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear my kid laughing in the background. She's having grandma time. So I'm just going to measure my chain up against the cup. So here, let me wrap this around. So I've got this big space over here. Don't worry, the stitching does make it wider, so it will overlap. I don't know if this is exactly long enough. I think I might be missing a little bit, but just to be sure, I'm going to grab my measuring tape and make sure that it's the 10.5 inches I wanted. Let me see. I'm at about 9. So I'll make a couple more stitches and then I'll make it 10.5 inches, which is where I want my chain to end. Alright, so I'll just measure it out here. I should be a lot closer to 10.5 inches. Doesn't need to be perfect. That's good. So we're going to be working into the stitches for this next row. So these stitches are these ones that look like little V's. So you can see a whole bunch of little V's. And when you work into a stitch, you just work into the top part of the V. So here's the V, you work into the top part. And this is where we're going to crochet, and it's going to be our very first row. The rest of it will be a little bit different, but I'll show you as we go along. So to begin, we're going to pinch this very last stitch that we have. That very last chain, just pinch it and make 2 more chains. So here's 1 chain and 2. And this is because we're going to work with a double crochet. So we're going to raise it 2, which will be the equivalent of a double crochet, and we're going to go into the 3rd stitch. So to make a double crochet, you're going to yarn over. So wrap the yarn around your hook. That's yarn over. Just hold it down with your index finger and go into that 3rd stitch. So here's 1, 2, 3. That's the one you pinched. Go into the top part of the V. Just insert your hook all the way through. See, now you have 3 loops on your hook, and your hook is in the stitch. Yarn over and pull your hook out of the stitch. So again, yarn over and pull your hook through the stitch, and you have 3 loops on your hook. For a double crochet, you're going to work the first 2 loops and then the second 2 loops. So yarn over and pull the hook through the first 2 stitches, so the first 2 loops, sorry, that are on your hook. And now we have 2 loops left. So we're going to yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And that was a double crochet. So let's do another one. We're going to go into the next stitch, so go into the next little V. So it's right there, and we're going to work into the top loop of the V. So yarn over, just hold your yarn with your index finger, insert your hook into the stitch, which is where you want to crochet your double crochet, yarn over and pull your hook through the stitch. You will be left with 3 loops on your hook. So we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and we will yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops. And there's another double crochet. So again, we yarn over. We're going to go into the next stitch. You're going to insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull your hook out of the stitch. You're going to be left with 3 loops on your hook, and then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So anytime I say we're going to make a double crochet for the remaining part of this pattern, if you can't remember how to do it, get back to this part of the video. So I'll make a couple more and I'll show you what it'll look like. So after I've made a couple of double crochets, this is what it looks like, and now you will just have to make 1 double crochet in every stitch of the chain. If you turn your chain to the side or towards the back, you'll notice that you can't see the V's. You can still crochet this way, but I recommend you stay on the V's so that it'll keep your stitches nice and even and they will look neat and clean. So just keep stitching a double crochet in every one of the little stitches, and I'll see you when I finish the row. So I've arrived to the last stitch of my row, which is this little guy right here. I'm just going to make a double crochet and finish this row. So just make it just like every other double crochet I've made so far. And there we go. Our very first row is finished. So now for our next row, we're going to start with a chain 2. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to chain 1 more. And then we're going to turn our work around. So now we're going to be working with a combination of posts and stitches. So a post, they're these big guys. So these little ones are the stitches. So I'll start there first. So these are the stitches. They're the ones at the top. These guys that are nice and tall, those are the posts. So we're going to be working into both of them. So to work into a post, we're going to push the post forward. So insert your hook behind the post. So that's going to be a front post double crochet because we're going to be making double crochets. And then you're going to work a regular double crochet into the stitch. So now your V's are at the top. So you can see the little V. When you work into the stitch, you want to go behind the V so that the V is above your hook. So see, I've gone through the stitch and at the top you see a V. So a double crochet will be worked on the top of the stitch, and a front post double crochet will be working the post. So to work in the very first post, we're going to make a front post double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, just hold it down like you would with a double crochet, and you're going to insert your hook behind the post. So skip the first one and go into the second post and insert your hook behind it. So you're pushing it forward. Yarn over and pull your hook out of the stitch. You will be left with the 3 loops. So we've got 1, 2, and 3, and we're just going to close it like we would a double crochet. So we're going to yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So that is a front post double crochet. Now the next stitch, see, you've got the post right next to it, which is this one. So above the post you have the stitches. So we're going to work into this stitch above the post. So there's the post, and this is the stitch we're working into, not that one, this one. So it's the stitch at the right. So it's the one right behind the post we just made. So right behind it, the one at the top right hand corner, right in here, that's where we're going to work. So make a double crochet into that stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch. See, we're behind the V. Yarn over, pull our hook out of the stitch, and then we just finish our double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now the next post right there, we're going to make a front post double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook behind the post. So there's the post, we're pushing it forward, yarn over, pull your hook out of the stitch, and now you have 3 loops. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're going to make a regular double crochet, so look for the post that's right next to it, and we're going to stitch in the stitch right up here, the one on the top right. So the one behind the post you just made. So yarn over and make a double crochet into that stitch. So just insert your hook, yarn over, you've got 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Go into the next post, so yarn over, and we're going to make a front post double crochet. So for every post, we make a front post double crochet, and in every stitch, and it's just one of them, not both stitches. So the stitch that's behind the post, we're going to make a double crochet. So here's that next post, right up here, that's where we're going to make a double crochet. So alternate between posts and double crochet. I'm going to keep working until I get to the end of the row. After a few stitches, you'll notice that there's a little back post and the front post and a little back post. This is the look that we want so that we can create that really nice overlapping double crochets. So if that's what your project looks like, then you are doing it right. So just keep working. I'll see you here in a minute. So we're in the very last post of the row. So I just need to make a front post double crochet, and then I'll have to finish my row with a double crochet. So let me finish this one. And at the end of every row, you're going to go into this chain space back here. I don't know if you can see that. So it's right next to that very last post. So right in here, we're going to make a double crochet. So just yarn over and insert your hook right into that space, like so, and make a double crochet. Do this in every one of the rows because it's going to be alternating between row 1 and row 2 until you finish the pattern. Every time you get to the end of the row, you will always need to make that double crochet. So this is what our pattern looks like. And now let's move on to the second row because this is going to be a 2-row repeat. So this is the second row we'll need to repeat. Chain 1. Now turn your work around, and we're going to have to skip stitches because we've increased the number of stitches. So we're going to skip the first one and go into the second one, skip the third, go into the fourth, skip the fifth, go into the sixth, and so forth till we get to the end of the row. So skip the first stitch, and in the second stitch, insert your hook. Don't yarn over or anything, just insert your hook. Now we're going to yarn over and pull our hook out of the stitch. You'll notice that we have 2 loops on our hook. So now we just yarn over and pull through 2 loops. This is called a single crochet. So you're going to do the row of alternating double crochets and then a row of single crochets. So skip a stitch, go into the next stitch and single crochet. So insert your hook, yarn over and pull your hook out. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. We'll do it again. Skip a stitch, go into the next one. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. We have 2 loops on our hook. Now we yarn over and pull through both loops. So continue making a single crochet in every other stitch of this row until you get to the very end. So I'll keep making single crochets and I'll see you again when we're done. So I've reached the end of the row and I've got 1 stitch that I have to skip and then go into the next one. So I'll make my single crochet. And as you can notice, that is the last stitch of the row, but I have to make my last single crochet to finish the row. So here's a post and here's that chain space. So go into the chain space and finish with a single crochet. So for this row, it's a single crochet, and in our double crochet row, we end with a double crochet. So now our row is finished. So it's nice and neat and clean and it's so pretty. So now let's start with the actual pattern part. So this is going to be the same row we're going to repeat over and over again when we do our double. Alright, so now for our next row, we're going to start with a chain 2. So we're going to chain 1 and then we're going to chain 2 and we're going to turn our work around. So in this row, you're going to notice that you have these posts that are sitting here in the front, and then we have these little posts in the back. So we have front posts and we have these little back posts. So we're going to be working with both of them. But for the posts that are here in the front, we're going to work on the stitch that's on top on the right hand side. The posts that are in the back, we're going to work those as a front post double crochet. So we're going to pull those forward, and this is where we're going to create that nice look for our stitch. So this front post gets a double crochet at the top, and this little back post in the back gets a front post double crochet. So to make the double crochet as a front post, remember that you stick your hook behind the post and pull it forward. So I'll show you here in one of the ones that's a little more in the inside. So we have our front post, and here's that little back post that's hidden back here. So when you crochet into the back of the post, just go as close as you can to the base. So here's the base of the stitch. Go as close as you can to the base of the stitch, and that's where you're going to insert your hook to crochet your back post or your front post double crochet. So let's get started. So like I said, this post is in the front, so we're just going to make a double crochet in the stitch that's above it on the right hand side. So just yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch you're working into, yarn over, and pull your hook out. You'll have your 3 loops, so you just finish it like you would a double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now, this back post is the one we're going to turn into a front post double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook behind the post. Now yarn over and pull your hook out. Now you're going to pull, so pull your hook up. You're going to extend that stitch so that it looks like a really long double crochet. And now you just finish the double crochet. So yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. In the next stitch, since it's one of these front posts, we're going to work on the top right hand stitch. So this one right here, not that one. So you can see both stitches. So here's our front post, and there's 2 stitches. The one you want to work on is the one on the right hand side. So this guy right here. So front post, and here's the stitch we're going to work into. All right, let's keep going. So into that stitch, we're going to make a double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook into that top right hand stitch, and just double crochet. You don't need to pull on this one because it just can be a short double crochet. So now we go into the next post, and we're going to make a front post double crochet. So you want to pull it out. So we're just going to yarn over and insert our hook behind that post, like so. And then we're going to yarn over. Now here's where you're going to pull. Okay, so yarn over and then pull up about as high as you can go. So just pull the hook with your hand as high as you can go, and then you yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So it's not like a regular double crochet that you just yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. No, you pull when you have your 3 loops, and then you finish the double crochet. It's going to make a very tall double crochet, which is what we need. All right, so we're going to make a double crochet in that next stitch. So here's that back loop again. So I'll show you again. So here's a back post. We're going to make that double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook behind the post, yarn over, and now you're going to pull. So you have your 3 loops, now pull up to make a really tall double crochet. So by pulling up, that's how we create that beautiful teardrop illusion for our double crochet, which is what that's the whole purpose behind this pattern for the cozy. So it's to showcase this really beautiful stitch. So for the rest of the row, just keep alternating between a regular double crochet and a front post double crochet in that back post. If you still have trouble understanding, go back to the beginning part of this row and just watch it over again. If you still have a hard time, finish watching the video, just watch it all the way through, and it'll start to make more sense when we have one more row. So I'll keep crocheting and I'll see you here when I finish. So I've made a couple more stitches, and as you can see, the pattern is starting to show. So you can see these really nice long double crochets and then the nice little tucked in double crochets that are back here, and those are the ones we're going to work into, not in the next row, but in the row after that. So I'll keep crocheting and I'll see you here in a moment. So I've reached the last post of my row, and as you can see, I already made a long double crochet. So I just need to make my nice little double crochet, which is going to be into the stitch right here. Yours might look a little different than mine. If it does, don't stress it. That's okay. Just keep working this way. So I've made my last double crochet. Here's my other post, and you will see that chain space right over here. So you can insert your hook here at the top or a little bit lower. It doesn't matter. Just work into that chain space. Make a double crochet into it. So here is the chain space in case you couldn't see it. So just make a double crochet into that space and finish your row. If your last stitch was a long double crochet, don't worry, do the same, just finish on a double crochet. So here's this row. As you can see, it's expanded, so it kind of has like a bit of a fan look. So in our next row, we're going to do our single crochets, and we're going to skip every other stitch in order to bring it in and tighten up those stitches. So we chain one and turn around. So we have the first stitch which we skip, and we go into the second stitch. So single crochet into the second stitch. So here's my single crochet. Skip the next stitch and go into the one after that. So this will be stitch number 4. Insert your hook and single crochet. So there's my single crochet. And we're going to skip the next stitch, go into stitch number 6 and single crochet. And there we go. So we're just going to keep making a single crochet in every other stitch until you finish the row. So I'll keep working on this, and I will see you here in a minute. So this is what it starts to look like after you've made a couple more stitches. So it starts to close up this top part, and it makes it really nice and pretty. So I'll just keep crocheting. I'll see you here in a moment. So this is what the pattern starts to look like. You're just going to repeat those same 2 rows. So the row of double crochets and then the row of single crochets. So you'll need to measure it up against your cup to see how many more rows you need to make. So finish working this pattern for the rest of the row. Then you're going to turn around and work a row of single crochets. So remember, you skip every other stitch and make a single crochet and make it as tall as you want. So I'm going to grab my mug and I'm just going to measure it up against the mug. So keep repeating these rows until you get the width that you want, and it'll cover as much of your mug as you want. So I'm just going to keep working here, and I will see you when I finish this row. I've reached the end of the row again, and as you can see, I have a nice short little double crochet, which means I have to make a tall front post double crochet, so the really long ones. So I'll just do that. I'll just insert my hook behind the post and make a nice tall stitch. Remember to leave it nice and tall, and then we finish the double crochet. And I will finish my row with a double crochet like we do every single one of these double crochet rows. So I'll move this around a bit so I can find my chain space, and then just make your double crochet. So just insert my hook in here. Doesn't matter if I do the top or the bottom, just pick a place. As long as it's around the chain space, it doesn't matter. So there we go, and our row is finished. So I'll just keep repeating these rows over and over until I get the length or the width, that I want for my cozy. As you can see, you can start to see the really pretty pattern. And then we'll just make our last row of single crochets. So I made one last row of single crochets, and now I am ready to measure my cozy. So here's the end. See, this is how it looks in the back. So it's nice and closed up, so that way if your beverage is hot, you won't burn your fingers. And that's also why we used a cotton yarn. So I told you it was going to overlap, so this is how much overlap I will have on my cozy. And I just need to grab a button. I didn't know what button I was using, so I just grabbed both of them. So here's how it looks with the black one, and here's a little white button. So I'm just gonna line everything up, make sure everything is the way I want it to be, and then when I add the button, that it's gonna look the way I want it, so it's as wide as I want it, and it overlaps as much as I want it to overlap. So since I've decided that this is how I want my cozy to look, now all we have to do is just start making the edge, and it's where we're going to make the little buttonhole. So we're going to do it all on this side, that way we don't have to cut yarn and thread in more ends. So let me get this all set up. There we go. Turn it around like we're working on it. Great. So this is where we left off. So now all we're going to do is start with a chain 1. So just yarn over and chain. And we're going to begin to work on the side. So we're going to work all the way across here to make a nice even edge and to make the buttonhole. So to do that, just go into the next stitch over. So right into this space right here. Skip this big old bit, just go into this next one. And you're just going to make a single crochet. So here's my first one. And then I'm just going to pull on this a little so you can, there you go, see. So here's this next space, and we'll just make a single crochet there. As you can see, this is not as clean as the other areas where you had the stitches. You just kind of have to look for empty spaces. So there's this big space here that I can make a single crochet in. And then this should be about the middle. So let's see, that's going to be the center. So we're going to want to stop at the center. So I'll just make this last single crochet in here. That'll be right in the middle of the cozy, like so. And we're just going to make a couple of chains. It depends on, so the number of chains you need depends on the size of button you have. So this is a pretty small button, so I'm going to start with about 5 and then see what that leaves me. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you will need to loop this around like so. So this is obviously too small for this button, so I'll make another 5. So should have a chain of about 10. I'll measure it with my button. So you're going to loop it around, and that's what's going to make your little buttonhole. And then just make sure that your button fits. So you don't want it to be too much bigger than your button, because then your button won't hold, and you don't want it to be too small because then it won't fit over the button. So if your button slips through it fairly easily, you shouldn't have a really hard time pulling your button through, then that should be good enough. So let me get set up again and I'll show you how to finish this. So we're going to go into that same stitch we just did that last stitch in. So where you made that last single crochet right here, we're going to make a single crochet in that stitch, so you'll have 2 of them. So I'm just going to insert my hook into that same stitch where my chain begins and just make a single crochet, and that way it'll close my buttonhole. And then we'll just single crochet in the spaces, in the next few spaces at least, until we finish this little row. So here's one in there. Just going to pull right here so you can see there's a space. So I'll make a double crochet in there. And there's a space over here, so I'll make a single crochet in here. Sorry, I think I said double crochet a minute ago. We're just making single crochets here at this part. So here's that end. So this has got kind of a big space here. If you want to make another single crochet in this space, you can. You can even make it a little bit lower, so like down here, and that'll close up the space. I'm just going to stop here and I'm going to sew in the rest of the edge together. So, but if you want a perfectly clear corner, or a perfectly clean corner, you might want to make one more single crochet. So cut a nice long tail of yarn. So see, I left a bit of a big piece, like so. I'm just going to make a chain 1, and I'm going to pull the yarn and everything through. So I'll remove my hook and pull the yarn through, and we are done. So we're going to take these 2 little tails, and I'm just going to double knot them. And that way, hopefully it'll keep everything from unraveling, so that when you wash your the cozy, you can throw it in the machine and it won't ruin it. So I'll just give it a double knot, and then I have to weave in my ends. So if you've never woven in ends before, so you don't want to use it in the front part of the stitching. We're gonna weave in the ends in the back. So I'm just gonna grab my tapestry needle. Yeah, I know mine's all bent, but I use it all the time. So, so grab a tapestry needle or a yarn needle or any needle that fits your yarn. And we're going to thread it. Let me get a little closer so everyone can see what we're doing. So just go through and try to thread it. And no, that did not work. Let's try again. Yay, there we go. That was a little more difficult, I think, than it needed to be. Okay, so we're going to go through and weave in our end, so just sew it through the back part. So just go through the back stitches. Don't sew through so that it shows on the front of your work, just in the back, because what you're trying to do is hide your yarn, but at the same time weave it in different directions so that if you do wash your cozy, it isn't going to unravel. So I'm just switching directions here over and over, so I'll go a couple of stitches and then switch directions, and then go through a couple of more stitches and then switch directions. And then once I don't think I can go any further, because see, my yarn is really short at this point, I'm just going to pick one space where I can just push the needle through several stitches, so just a big long length of the cozy, and just pull my needle through. And I'll pull everything all the way through, and I will pull the yarn out of the needle and give it a bit of a tug. See, I've got a little tail left. I'm just going to pull on this and then just cut the little tail off, and then just give the cozy a bit of a tug, and now it's hidden. So now you can't see that end. I'm going to weave in this one, and then we'll get everything sewed together. So here we are. I've woven in both ends. Now I have my buttonhole. Now it's time to sew on the button. So we're going to loop this around. Just get your mug again, measure it around your mug, and tighten it however tight you want it. So if you want it to be loose fitting, leave it a little loose fitting. If you want it to be nice and tight, just hold the cozy where it is that you want it to be, and that's where you're going to sew your button. So I'm going to count the top stitches, see how many stitches I need to go, and then I'm going to go between these two is where I'm going to place the button. So I'm just going to hold it here with my thumb. You can also pin it, or you can just count stitches and remember them, whatever you want. Just hold your button down and we're going to sew it in. So I have a little bit of this yarn left, so I'm going to use this to sew my button down. So I'm just going to cut a length of yarn, and I'm going to thread my tapestry needle again. Let's see, there we go. And now that it's all threaded, we're going to go through and sew on the button. So I'm just going to insert the needle from behind the cozy, so like so, and just make it go through the button. So there we go. And just hold this little tail end. If you have to wrap it around a finger or pinch it or hold it however you want, go ahead and do that. Just make sure you don't sew all the way through, that you still have that end on the other side, like that, because we're going to knot up these ends and then just weave in the bits of yarn that are left. So sew your button on, however many buttonholes your button has, just go ahead and sew it through. And then once you're done, you can go once or twice or however much you want. And then we're just going to knot up this back part. So I think I can go through the button twice. I don't know if it's too thick, so we'll give it a try. So I'm going to go a second time. Okay, we can do it. So I'm just going to go through the button twice. And then I'm going to knot up the back part of it. So I'll just remove my tapestry needle or pin it down, whatever it is you prefer, because you still have to weave in your ends. And then just double knot the two little threads that you have left. So there's one knot, and I'll do a second one. There we go. And just go through and weave in your ends. So I'll weave this one in with you in case you need to see it again, but do the second one on your own, and your cozy will be finished. So remember that when you are weaving in ends, switching directions is your friend. Switch directions as often as possible. That way it'll keep your work from unraveling. So you can pick any shape you want. You can sew it in a square shape. You can just kind of switch directions randomly. Whatever it is you want to do, it doesn't matter. Just give it a couple good stitches and switch directions a few times, and that'll keep your yarn from falling out. So got this little tail end. I'll just snip this off, and we are good to go. Weave in this last tail end and you're done. So we're just going to wrap our mug and fill it up with all of our favorite goodies that we want to give our teacher. Don't forget to say thank you to your teachers for all of their hard work. And that's it, guys. If you want to see the written pattern for this project, it's on my blog and the link is in the description box below. Hit the subscribe button. I post videos once a week. If you want to see any of my other projects, follow me on Instagram. I'm at mode.bespoke. You can preview all of the projects we're going to be working on here on YouTube. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It makes me feel special when you do. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys again next week.